Yeah, just,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10.
Yeah, it has volume and it has the top. Right. Okay, my speech is on the Renaissance artist Hieronymus Bosch, and I'm giving this speech to inform others about his works and their meaning and application to modern culture. Bosch was bold enough to depict hell, unlike many others during his time, in all its gruesome detail, using heavy-handed iconography and chaotic imagery. And he was able to represent all that man fears in itself. Bosch's paintings locate the cruel and ruthless place in the heart of man and reflects that back at the attentive viewer. It's important to have a sense for viewing art to understand yourself and how you view the world. So I'll be talking about two of Bosch's artworks today. They're both triptychs, which means that the inner panels, there's 3 inner panels and 2 outer panels, and I'll be going through each of those. The first one is The Last Judgment, and the second one is The Garden of Earthly Delights. So before I start, what do you look for in a piece of art? A sense of peace, calm, beauty, abstractions. These seem to be the common idealisms when it comes to art, but Bosch seems to defy them all. All right, here we go. Okay, so the first painting we're going to look at is The Last Judgment. On the leftmost panel, we have the Garden of Eden. The middle, we have the Final Judgment, and the end, we have a gruesome depiction of hell. And before we get into these ones, we have to first look at the outer panels. So, all right, so according to Dr. Stephen Zucker, the outer panels are of 2 saints, St. James and St. Bavo. St. James is associated with pilgrimage, while St. Bavo is seen here feeding the sick and poor. And the reason these are on the outside of the panels is because this work was probably a commissioned one. That means someone paid for it and requested these 2 saints to be put on the outside before Bosch could creatively create the inside of it. But the panel is blank right here, and that's where the inscription for who commissioned the art would have gone. So it's assumed that the person probably died before the art was finished. The outer panels are painted in a gray, muted style to reflect the reality of our world as we see it, before we open up the fantastic world that he has painted within. It's also important to note that the outer panels here are painted in the grayish tones, and this is a common way to paint to represent the stone of the church that holds all the details inside. All right, so the first panel is of the Garden of Eden. At the top, God is located, surrounded by a brilliant light with a great battle below him. You can't really see it too well right here, but it's between the angels of heaven and the rebel angels being cast out and into hell. Okay, and so this painting is a prelude to the horrors that await humanity later. So there is a sinister undertone that is underneath all of this. So here we see the first sin, with Adam and Eve eating the fruit. And mirroring the angels being cast out of heaven, we have Adam and Eve being cast out of the Garden of Eden and into the world of sin and corruption that follows. Okay. All right, so in this painting, or in the middle part, we have Jesus on the throne of judgment with the ascended up there. And down below is a painting of the representation of the 7 deadly sins. I've highlighted a few here. This is gluttony, and this one is wrath, right over there. And let's see. There's not much distinction anymore between what is human and what is demon at this point, as the corruption is so strong that there really doesn't seem to be much of a distinction between the two anymore. Humanity has laid waste to their own world due to their own destructive desires. Okay, next one. All right, yeah, so finally we get to the last painting. The last triptych here is of representation of hell, with Satan right here on the mock throne of judgment, mocking Jesus on the throne of judgment up there, although in this one, the world is blackened and burned, and he is surrounded by the afflicted instead of the ascended. And at this point, you can see that humanity has completely laid waste to their entire world. Okay, you can go to the next one. Okay, so as you can see, Bosch did not have an optimistic outlook on the fate of humanity. You can see that he saw the ruthless, devouring nature of man, and he saw it overcoming what good there was in the heart of man. So the next scene that I'll be talking about is arguably Bosch's most famous work, and that is the Garden of Earthly Delights. This scene, just like the Last Judgment, is also a triptych and also depicts the fall of humanity from the world of natural order to the world of chaos and indescribable horrors in the last panel here. But again, we have to talk about the outer panels first before we talk about the inner panels. Let's see. So this scene is famous because it's so interwoven with scenes of disparity between order and chaos that it takes a very long, careful dissection to truly understand the work. All right. So when the outer panels are folded in, it forms a perfect sphere here. And right here is a tiny little depiction of God at the top, looking over the universe. The sphere is symbolic of the universe and the world as a whole, one thing. And the reason it's half filled with water could serve as a warning to humans that if they choose evil over good, then they are all doomed. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is the first panel, and again, it's of the Garden of Eden, although in this one there's no sense of impending doom as there was in the painting before. You see the fantastic animals roaming free up here, and God is in the middle. According to Dr. Beth Harris, God is in the middle, leaving his signature mark upon the world, and that is beings in his form with the gift of free will. And we will see what the humans do with that gift in the second panel. All right, you can go. Okay. So this panel is a chaotic one. It shows the oneness between nature and man's influence upon it. And it defies all reasoning. There's no sense to any of this, and is a mockery of the common idea that humans are apart from nature. As you can see, as in this one, two humans are being incubated in a flower, and they're all very integrated with the surroundings. The scene depicts humans all in their natural form, being completely naked and integrated with the surroundings and the nature around it. And although this scene seems at first to be a peaceful one, it actually has a very sinister undertone beneath it all. As you can see, the world is vastly overpopulated with humans, and they're all trying to work their will upon the land. This scene starts to become a sort of hell for the human mind, as there's no sense to any of it. It's completely nonsensical, and it reflects the universal fear of the unknown, where there is no reason or meaning behind anything, and humans are just a mad experiment at the hands of the divine. All right, go to the next one. All right, so on the last slide, you see the descent into total madness. Compared with the other two scenes, this is a complete representation of hell and the chaotic madness that lies within. There's no reasoning behind any of it. And the scene is so interwoven with scenes of human lust and depravity that it really is a hell for the human mind to comprehend. It bears the motif that the human spirit can never be satisfied. And there is a lust for acts that are more and more obscene, as you can see in these images here, as they're totally nonsensical. But they represent our craving for more and more obscene gestures. Okay. This is a hell that humans have created for themselves. Okay, you can go to the last one. All right, so this is a portrait of Bosch, a self-portrait. And so throughout the both paintings, you can see that Bosch had a very pessimistic outlook on the future of humanity. And so what message do you think this has for modern culture? Both images depict the fall of humanity as it abuses its power and takes advantage of the natural world, and both reflect the fear of the unknown. Together, these images serve as a warning to humanity to not abuse its power over the natural world and to not become blind to the sources of corruption, lest we are creating a doomed existence for all. Thank you.
Good.